Hello and welcome to the Pleasurepreneur podcast. This podcast will help you create what you desire in your business with pleasure. Whether that be calling in your ideal clients, making more money, or creating a balanced business-life blend. I'm your host, Regan, pleasure and business coach, published author of A Mother's Pleasure, wife and mama to 3 little wildlings. However you're choosing to listen to this podcast, ask yourself, how can I make this more pleasurable? And do just that. I acknowledge the custodians of the land on which this podcast is recorded and produced, the Wadi Wadi people of Dharawal land. Now, let's proceed with pleasure. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast for the year. Look, I know I've sent some episodes live on the podcast already this year, but this is my official podcast episode for the year. First day recording back in 2026. I'm recording from inside my parents' caravan down the coast. If you follow along my stories, you'll have seen us down here boating and fishing and surfing and doing all the fun things, taking a few extra deep breaths with 3 small children underfoot. Actually, they've been pretty good. I hope you had a really great break. I hope you got some time to have a break and it felt like a break, or at least you got to have some fun enjoying time with your friends and family, and you're ready to kick on with the year. In fact, this is why I really wanted to share this podcast episode, because I am seeing and hearing so much about goal setting and traditional goal setting that has my, I don't want to say has my skin crawling. It just makes me feel annoyed because I'm like, no, please don't be giving this advice because it's actually going against our neurology, our biology, our physiology, right? It's what I'm seeing a lot of in the collective. And I'm like, oh gosh, I wouldn't do it that way. I want to share some things with you that are actually going to have your goal setting efforts and going after your goals actually be a waste of time. Does that make sense? Let me put it this way. Consider these things, or you might find that it will be wasting your energy, time, effort trying to achieve these goals this year. Like, you might already be experiencing this. Like, it's coming towards the end of January and maybe you're going, oh my gosh, I had these goals for this year and they don't feel real now. They feel so far away, or I've lost total motivation for them, or I'm actually not doing any of the things that I thought I would be doing. I'm not taking the actions that I felt like I needed to be taking in order to achieve these goals, or like I'm procrastinating, I'm avoiding, I'm finding anything else to do except for leaning in, locking in, and going after these goals. Totally, I want to say like totally normal if you've been following traditional goal setting methods. So let me share with you today some things that I really want you to consider, whether it is for goal setting for the year or just like ongoing, like if you've got some things that you want to achieve, if you've got some things that you want to create or experience or become. And so for the point of simplicity for this podcast episode, I'm just going to wrap it up as like achieving goals. Whether that is, something that you want to actually achieve, or just a new experience that you want to have, or something new that you want to create, I'm just going to wrap it up as goals. You know what I mean, right? Now, I want you to take these considerations on board so that not only so that you're not wasting time this year, but so that you're not actually causing yourself harm. Now, it's probably a bit of a strong word, harm. But what I mean by this is like not causing yourself suffering, not causing yourself to doubt yourself or question yourself or feel as though you're a failure, because in actual fact, perhaps the type of goal or the way you actually did your goal setting was never going to lead you to easily achieve that goal in the first place. Yeah, so these are some of the considerations I'm going to invite you to take on board and consider when it comes to the goals that you want to achieve this year. Now, if there are goals that you had for this year and you're noticing like, oof, I actually have totally procrastinated. I haven't started getting to work on this goal. I have really pushed it aside. I'm kind of ignoring it. Any of those kind of things, you can use these considerations for those goals as well. Okay. This might even be like a bit of an audit. If you've already got goals that you're not advancing with right now, you might notice that there might be, say, 1, 2, 3, maybe all that I've got 5 considerations for you, all or just a couple of things that you're like, okay, that makes sense. That's why I'm actually not taking action on this. Or like, oh, that makes sense. That is why I'm really procrastinating about this. Yeah. All right, let's dive in right away. Okay, here is number one. You are wasting your time goal setting this year if your goal threatens what you value most. Now, I want you to consider the goal that you have. Yeah, one of them, you might have a few, but anyway, consider a goal. Consider, do I feel like it is a threat to my top values? For example, if one of your biggest goals this year is to enroll more clients and make more money, but you believe that the more clients you enroll, the more money you make, the harder you have to work, the longer you've got to work, the more time you have away from your family, and spending time with your family is one of your top values, there's a really good chance you're not going to achieve that goal this year. There's a really good chance that it's going to be really tough for you to try and maintain the consistency to take the actions to reach those goals. It's going to be a really good chance that you will find any and every reason, excuse to not take the action towards achieving that goal. Yeah, consider, what are your top values? Is this goal in conflict, direct or otherwise, with your top values? If succeeding or achieving this goal feels more like pressure, more responsibility, more stress, more depletion, less freedom, less time, less energy, there will be a big part of you that will be resisting it and fighting against it, even if you consciously want the outcome. I remember when I had perinatal mood disorders and, I was told, self-care, me time, that was the solution. That's the answer. I agreed. Yeah, of course. However, there was no way I was actually going to be helping myself recover from perinatal mood disorders by more me time and self-care, because those things were actually conflicting with my top value of me being the best mother in the world. Because my belief was that in order to be the best mum in the world, you had to be with your kids 24/7. So I want you to consider, do your goals align with your values? If not, why? Is there a way that you can start to have them be incongruent, in alignment with each other? If you can, it's going to make it so much more easeful for you and remove so much resistance, procrastination, lack of focus, lack of motivation, all those kind of things. Yeah, it's your nervous system protecting you. It's prioritizing your top values over your goals. All right, number 2, here's something I want you to consider. Are you wanting the outcome, but you don't actually identify with the version of you who has it? So the person that you are, who has achieved this goal, is she still safe? Is she worthy? Satisfied? Is she happy? Yeah. Goals don't just require action. They also require an identity shift a lot of the time. Yeah, you can want more money, but still not see yourself as someone who's safe with money. If you don't think that having more money, if you don't think you're going to be safe with more money, there needs to be an identity shift that happens there. Yeah. Or maybe you want more followers or a bigger community or people on your mailing list. You want more visibility, but you feel as though if you have that, you're actually going to be really exposed or unprotected, and you as that person then risks, trolls or haters or whatever. And that feels really unsafe for you. Or maybe you want more ease in your business, in your days, in your life, and you still believe that things for you only come through struggle and lots of effort and hard work and sacrifice. Yeah. When the identity required to hold the goal or achieve the goal feels really unfamiliar or unsafe, you're going to hesitate. Yeah. Now, traditional goal setting ignores this entirely. You're a human, you're not a machine, and your actions will always reflect who you believe you're allowed to be. So to troubleshoot for this one, this is simply, I say simply, it is simple, maybe not easy, but I would be looking at really doing the work that's required in order to see yourself as the person who has that goal, who has achieved that goal. Yeah. Now, number 3, let's dive in. Oh, this is the biggest, is it a time waster? It's a waste of time to do this. It is a waste of time to rely on consistent motivation instead of pleasure in achieving your goals. Right? Motivation isn't designed to be sustained. It is designed to initiate movement and not carry you the entire way, right? Now, this is why, like, the start of January, we all feel motivated. We're like, yeah, let's go. Or maybe you've done like some free masterclasses. I always say this, maybe not always, but I often say this in my masterclasses. It's like, okay, you're going to be really motivated once you leave. However, that motivation wears off, right? We're motivated because of the novelty, because of like, oh, it's a new year and whatever other things feel motivating to us, but it is not sustainable. It is not a good idea to just try and rely on sustained motivation or willpower or force simply to get you to achieve that goal. Yeah. Which is what traditional goal setting really has you rely on. Yeah. Maintaining that motivation like long after the initial like dopamine spike of like, oh, it's a new year or like, oh, something new is exciting. Yeah. It's biologically unrealistic. So we know now, if you've been here for a while, you know this. If you followed my work for a while, you'll know that pleasure is the thing that can activate motivation for you. So if there's no pleasure in you achieving this goal, like in the actual process of going after it, and there is no pleasure that you have made yourself aware of in actually achieving the goal, it's going to be really hard for you to stay motivated. The reason why that is because we are biologically wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. If you feel as though, and this was number one, like if you feel as though the goal is actually going to risk things for you, sacrifice things for you, create a threat, that leads to it being a goal that is in alignment with pain and not pleasure. But if you can weave in more pleasure into the process, as well as the anticipation of achieving the goal, being pleasurable, you're actually going to spark motivation throughout the whole process. Yeah. And that doesn't mean like 100% of the time, but it means about connecting in with the pleasure of it to access the reward system in your brain that activates motivation and focus and really has you lock in for your goal. Yeah. If the pathway to your goal feels really like punishing or like obligation or rigid or joyless, you will opt out to conserve energy. Yeah, and it's not because you don't want it, but because pushing without reward is very expensive on our system, biologically and neurologically, yeah? So the question isn't, how do I stay motivated? It is, how do I make this feel good enough to continue? Yeah, I do not want you to just expect yourself to be able to muster up the motivation and force and willpower in order to achieve a goal, which is kind of what traditional goal setting is all about, right? Like, oh, what's the goal? What's the incremental steps to get there? We need to factor in motivation and how we can tap into and cultivate and activate motivation throughout the process. So the way we troubleshoot for this is we make the process pleasurable and we become really aware of what pleasures there are for us in achieving that goal. So I will tell you right now, I think I've shared this on my socials as well. Like, tell me what you want to achieve. Yeah, like show me what it is that you want to achieve. Show me what the goal is that you want to achieve and tell me there's no pleasure in that for you. There is always pleasure in the goal. Now, this is great news because that means us anticipating pleasure from achieving the goal is going to motivate us. It is also good information for us to know because if our relationship to pleasure comes with a lot of challenges and feels problematic and creates a lot of resistance, that resistance is going to show up on the way to achieving that goal. There is pleasure in the goal. Find out what that is for you. Maybe it is simply a sense of accomplishment, a sense of pride. Maybe it is if you want to increase your income. Maybe it's like, oh yes, it'll be so pleasurable for me to, at the moment, I'm thinking of myself here. My husband and I, we've just ordered like 3 whole new bedroom suite type things for all of our kids. I'm like, how fun is that going to be? That's so pleasurable for me that my income can support that and do that for my kids. That'll be fun. Like work out where is the pleasure in your goal. If there is no pleasure in achieving this goal for you, what is the point? That's a really great question to ask yourself. And then let's see, can you sprinkle in pleasure throughout the process of achieving it? Whether that looks like taking yourself on a business date to get some work done every now and again. Maybe, I don't know. Look, I could talk about this for a really long time, but I'm not going to. I'm going to try and make this a punchy episode. I want you to consider how can you make the process of achieving this goal more pleasurable. Next point is I want you to consider your relationship to pleasure. We started to go into this in the last point, right? There is pleasure in the goal you want to achieve. If you don't believe you're deserving of pleasure, you will not believe you are deserving of this goal, achieving this goal. If you think that it is unsafe to experience pleasure, you will think it's unsafe to achieve this goal. If you feel like it is too problematic to experience pleasure, you will feel like it's too problematic to achieve this goal. Now is a really great opportunity for you to start to get curious about your relationship to pleasure. If you can shift from a perhaps challenging, problematic relationship with pleasure where you feel unworthy, where you feel as though you've got to sacrifice everything or work really hard, or you have to really earn pleasure. You're not allowed to have any kind of pleasure or rest or enjoyment until you have sacrificed or worked super hard, etc. Then that is going to be the pathway that you move through in order to achieve your goal. I want to make achieving your goals be so easeful for you. This is the work I do with my clients. We make sure that achieving your goals is super easeful. We thread pleasure through there. We ensure that you're activating motivation naturally. You're creating momentum easefully, right? You're not having to rely on accountability or force or complicated systems, etc. It is simply you aligning your relationship to pleasure, the pleasures of the goals that you want to achieve, and then using pleasure to motivate you to get there in order to achieve the goals that you want. So consider, what is your relation? What is my relationship to pleasure? Do I feel worthy of pleasure? Do I feel like I have to earn pleasure? Do I feel like pleasure is unsafe? That's where some of the work lies in achieving your goals this year. And lastly, this one's going to be kind of short and sweet, but it's more about an illusion, right? I want to talk about the when-then fallacy. If you are relying on when I achieve this goal, then I can relax or enjoy myself or allow myself the permission to do X, Y, and Z, then I can really, be my full self. Then I can, you know what I mean? This is the when-then fallacy. If you haven't considered if this is a part of you achieving your goals, it's going to create suffering for you at the end. Yeah, it's going to, I want to create empty motivation to get there because you're thinking, when I achieve this goal, then I can be happy. Then I can do X, Y, and Z. So it's actually not going to be really great internal motivation. If it works for you, great. But the thing is, then when you reach that goal, you'll know that it's really quite empty because it is not the goal that creates the state that you're looking for, whether it's happiness or being able to relax or approval or permission for yourself. It's not the goal that does that. It is the person you become. It ends up kind of being a goal towards a goal, right? When I achieve this goal, then I can have this thing, be this person, behave like this, experience this state. Now, the reason why the when-then fallacy can actually limit you in actually achieving your goals is because it puts your sense of fulfillment and pleasure on hold, right? It makes enjoyment conditional and it kind of puts you in a permanent waiting room. And the funny thing is, our motivation and our brain's ability to sustain that kind of deferred gratification is actually pretty limited. Yeah, it can lead to burnout. It can lead to you feeling like you're never quite arriving and to postponing happiness or approval or whatever it is that is going to happen when you reach your goal. It can postpone that indefinitely. Yeah. So when you allow pleasure and enjoyment or whatever it is that you're going to allow yourself to have when you achieve this goal, when you allow that to be part of the process rather than a reward at the end, you're actually going to create more sustainable motivation. Yeah, you'll feel more resourced and more energized along the way, which ironically then makes it easier to reach your goals because you're not waiting for some finish line to give you what you want that you can have now. And as for a practical take home or troubleshooting thing to play with, if you feel like this is you, I want you to consider what is that thing that I think I can have when I achieve the goal? And how can I give it to myself now? If it's I'm going to relax or I'm going to enjoy myself more, or I'm going to be happier when I achieve this thing, that's a state. You can access that now. So how can you weave that in now? Okay, so that's it for this episode. I hope that this has given you some really good food for thought, and you might want to listen to this and now edit? No, you might want to listen to this and now audit your goals for the year. There is no goal that is right or wrong. There's just some really great considerations that I feel have been left out of the goal setting conversation for quite some time. So dive in, get curious, and these are all the things that I help my clients with. So whether that is, aligning your goals to your top values, whether that is creating motivation through pleasure along the way, whether that is like improving your relationship with pleasure in order to improve your ease and ability to achieve your goals, these are all the things that I help my clients with and more. This is how we are achieving what we desire in our life and business this year, with pleasure, with natural, cultivated motivation, with experiencing the states and permission and whatever it is that we expect to get at the end, at the finish line, letting ourselves have part of that now. This is what happens when you are a pleasurepreneur. So if you're listening to this, I'm going to guess that you've got some business goals for this year. I'm going to guess they're probably similar to, growing your business in a sustainable way that feels really good for you and allows you time and energy to have with the people that you love, doing the things you love. And that might be personal fulfillment as well, right? So I'm going to assume that these are some of the goals, some kind of the same flavor of your goals for this year. This is what I help my clients with. This is what I can help you with. And if you want to be able to achieve these goals in a way that is easeful, that doesn't actually work against your nervous system and your biology and neurology, I want you to come and have a conversation with me. Let's make those goals really freaking achievable for you this year, really easeful and done in a way that you enjoy, done in a way that brings you pleasure, that doesn't deplete you, that doesn't burn you out, that doesn't take all your time and energy away from who and what matters to you most. I want you to click on the link in the show notes. I want you to apply to work with me one-on-one, or I want you to send me a DM if you have any questions about working with me one-on-one. That's it for today, my loves. I can see my kids coming back from the movies. I think I'm going to take them on a big 5-kilometer walk like I did yesterday. Oh man, I thought they were going to hate me, but they loved it. They were just really tired. The littlest fell asleep with me on the lounge at 6:30 last night, and the eldest two were just about 7 o'clock. So let's do that again if the rain stopped. Anyway, I'm excited to hear what your goals are for this year, what it is you're going to be achieving. I have no doubt you'll be achieving your goals, especially if you're taking into consideration the number of things we talked about today. Do feel free to drop into my DMs. Tell me, what is it you're aiming for this year? What is it that you know for sure you're going to be celebrating at the end of the year and achieving? Yeah, I want to hear what those goals are for you. Bye for now.